This is a review for exam 1 for applied algebra class. This is covering chapter 1 and section 2.1 from chapter 2. Number 1, perform the indicated algebraic operations and simplify completely. Part A, all you have to do is drop the first parenthesis, t minus 2, distribute the negative inside the second parenthesis, negative 3t squared plus 5t minus 2, and then combine like terms. We have t and 5t, and then we have negative 2 and another negative 2. So negative 3t squared, that did not have like terms, 1t plus 5t, that's 6t, and negative 2 plus another negative 2, that's minus 4. Part B, FOIL method or double distributive property. 5x times 2x, that's 10x squared. 5x times 3 plus 15x minus 1 times 2x, negative 2x minus 1 times 3, minus 3. Like terms in the middle, plus 15 minus 2 on the x's, so that's 10x squared, plus 15 minus 2 is 13x minus 3. Three x minus 4 squared, that's the same as 3x minus 4 times itself, 3x minus 4, then FOIL or double distributive property, and like terms. 3 times 3, that's 9. X times x is x squared. 3 times negative 4, negative 12. X, negative 4 times 3, another negative 12. X, negative 4 times negative 4, positive 16. Add the negative 12x together in the middle, 9x squared minus 24x plus 16. Number 2, we're factoring. No number in front of y squared, so both parentheses start with a y. We're looking for two numbers. They multiply to 24 and add to negative 11. 6 and 4 are not going to work, even though that is usually the first thing that comes to everybody's minds, but that is not going to work. There's no way to add 6 and 4 together and get negative 11. But 3 and 8, which is another possibility from the multiplication tables, that should actually work. Let's do the signs. Since we have to get negative 11, when we add them together, negative 8 and negative 3 will give you negative 11. And if you multiply two negatives together, they give you a positive 24. Part B, we have x squared plus 14x minus 32. Again, no number in front of x squared, so both parentheses are starting with an x. We're looking for two numbers that multiply to negative 32 and add to 14. Always start with multiplication on these. The typical things that we think about when we think about 32 would be 4 and 8. That is not going to work because we can't add them to 14. But what is going to work is a little bit less known fact, 16 and 2. 16 times 2 is 32. Now we need to add to 14. So 16 has to be positive and 2 has to be negative. Now negative 2 times positive 16, that is negative 32, and negative 2 plus 16 is 14. So factoring is complete. C and D are a little bit more complex. There is a number in front of x squared on C. If you notice, that number actually can be factored out. So take out 2 first. X squared plus 11x plus 30, divide everything by 2. You're not done. You still have to factor the expression inside the parentheses. Two numbers that multiply to 30 and add to 11. Everything is positive. So 6 and 5. And again, everything is positive here. On part D, we cannot take out 5, which is a number in front of x squared. So here you need to either do factoring by grouping or a slide and divide technique. I am partial to slide and divide, so that is what I'm going to use here. Slide, first you're going to multiply 5 times 2. You're going to rewrite the expression with the new numbers, x squared plus 11x plus 10, 5 times 2. Now you're going to factor this expression, two numbers that multiply to 10 and add to 11. Let's see, 5 and 2 are not going to work, so 10 and 1 are the only possibilities. Now, that is not your answer. We started this question by multiplying 5 by 2. Well, we now need to undo this operation by dividing both of the numbers that we found by 5, hence the slide and divide technique. On number 1, we have a little bit of an issue. We have 1 divided by 5, which is not a whole number. So when that happens, you just tuck in that 5 in front of the x. So my first parenthesis is going to look like this, 5x plus 1. And my second parenthesis, x plus 10 divided by 5 is just 2. So that's what it's going to be here. Number 3, we have a word problem. Janie is a software salesman. Her base salary is $1,200 a month, and she makes an additional $20 for every copy of Math is Fun that she sells. Let P represent her total pay in dollars. Let N represent the number of copies of Math is Fun that she sells. Write the equation relating P to N. Then use the equation to find the total pay if she sells 26 copies of Math is Fun. So first and foremost, we are going to write the equation of this line. We're in chapter 1 largely here, so this is all linear equations. Our typical way to write linear equation is the slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. Now we have to incorporate the letters for this specific word problem. P is the total pay, so it's going to be P equals. She gets $1,200 no matter what. And then additionally, plus, she makes $20 if she sells some books. Now, the number of books that she sells is represented by a variable n, so that's what I'm going to add right here. This is the equation for this word problem. And then we also need to find the total pay if she sells 26 copies of Math is Fun. So all we have to do here is plug in n equals 26. So P equals 1,200 plus 20 times 26. The pay is measured in dollars. So $1,720 is the total pay if she sells 26 books. All right, given the two equations of the line, we need to find the x-intercepts and the y-intercepts, and then graph the line. To find the x-intercept, we set y equal to 0. So this would be 3x plus 6 times 0 equals 24. So this is 3x equals 24, which means x equals 24 divided by 3, or 8. So the x-intercept is at 8, 0. I'm going to go ahead and plug that in. 8, 0 plotted on the coordinate grid. Now, the y-intercept happens when x is 0. So 3 times 0 plus 6y equals 24. So 6y equals 24, which means y equals 24 divided by 6, or 4. To write the intercept as a point, this time 0 is for the x and y is 4. On our coordinate grid, it looks like this. Connect the dots as straight of a line as you can master. Let's try one more time. 16x minus 8y equals 32. So the y-intercept, the x-intercept first, that means 16x minus 8 times 0 equals 32. So 16x equals 32, which means x equals 32 divided by 16, which is 2. So 2, 0. That's right here. Y-intercept. 16 times 0, x equals 0, minus 8y equals 32. Negative 8y equals 32, which means y equals 32 divided by negative 8, which gives you negative 4. 0 for x, negative 4 for y. And again, to graph the line, just connect the dots in a straight line. Some scenarios that are given below, you just need to choose the correct graph. On these, you need to read the description carefully. The value of David's house remains the same for a few years. So this is the key wording here. The x coordinate is just the time, so years, for example, and the y-coordinate is the value of the house. So if the line is decreasing, if it's negative slope, that the value would decrease. If the line is increasing, so positive slope, the value would increase. If the line is flat, then the value of the house stays the same, which means that the third graph is what we want here. Now part B. Layla drives from her house to another state. The word from is the key word here. If you look at the graphs, the x-axis is still time. The y-axis is now the distance from her home. So if she is driving away from her home to another state, the distance from her home should increase. It should be an increasing function. The first graph is a decreasing function. The second graph is not a function at all. The third graph, the distance would stay the same, which means she's just home, she's not leaving. The fourth graph starts at her home and then it goes way far away from her house. The distance is increasing. It's the fourth graph. Number 7, a plant is already 9 centimeters tall and will grow to 2 centimeters every month. Let h be the height of the plant and m be the months. Write the equation relating h to m. When you're writing the equation, you always start with the y-coordinate and then equals. Y for us is height, so h equals. The plant is already 9 centimeters tall, so the starting number is 9. It's growing, so the plus, not minus, grows by 2 centimeters every month, plus 2. And then, since we don't know the number of months, m is the variable to use for months here. So that is the equation. Let's go ahead and graph it. You start with a y-intercept, which is 9. The slope is 2, so that means 2 up and 1 over. 2 up and 1 over. And again, connect the dots with a line. Another word problem. This is an applied class. Lots of word problems. Scott receives a $15.75 gift card for a photo center. He used it to buy prints that cost 10 cents each. The remaining balance, which is B on the card after buying X prints, is given by the following function. What is the remaining balance on the card if he bought 45 prints? That one is easy. X equals 45. We just need to find the remaining balance. This is as easy as plugging it into a calculator. 15.75 minus 0.10 times 45. Balance is measured in dollars, so don't forget the units. $11.25. Part B. If the current remaining balance on the card is $5.05, how many prints did he buy? This time the balance is given, and we need to find the number of prints x. So 5.05, plug it in for b, equals 15.75 minus 0.10 times x. Subtract 15.75 from both sides, that's negative 10.7 equals negative 0.10 times x. Divide by the number in front of x. It's negative 10.7 divided by negative 0.10, and that is 107 prints. Number 9, we have two functions, function f and function g. We need to find function f evaluated at negative 2. Negative 2 represents the x value here, so plug in negative 2 where you see x's. Square root negative 4 times negative 2 minus 4. Square root negative 4 times negative 2, that's positive 8, minus 4. That's the same as the square root of 4, which is 2. No plus or minus here on the square root because we are talking functions, so we're only taking the positive root, not the negative one. That would not be a function. G at negative 2 over 3. So function g has an absolute value in it. So plug in negative 2 over 3 for x in the function g. 12 times negative 2 over 3, well, we can reduce the 12 and the 3. So 3 divided by 3, that's a 1. 12 divided by 3, that's a 4. So it would be 4 times a negative 2. So that is the absolute value of negative 8 minus 10. The absolute value of negative 8 is positive 8 minus 10. Overall answer is negative 2. Number 10, more function notation. We are given function h as x squared minus 3. We need to find h evaluated at x minus 5. Well, that means where you see x, plug in x minus 5. We have to square that, minus 3. To simplify this answer, we actually have to represent x minus 5 by x minus 5 times x minus 5. Foil it and do like terms. X times x squared, minus 5x, minus another 5x, plus 25, and then minus 3. Now like terms, x squared minus 10x, and then 25 minus 3 is 22. More functions. We have function f that's equaling x minus 6 and function g that equals 5x. We need to find the following. F plus g evaluated at x. That's the same as f of x plus g of x. F of x is x minus 6. G of x is 5x. Do like terms, x plus 5x, that's 6x minus 6. Okay. Go to part B. G minus f evaluated at x. Well, that is the same as g of x minus f of x. G of x is 5x minus f of x minus 6. F of x has to be in parentheses, so we don't forget to distribute the negative sign. So that's 5x minus x plus 6. Like terms, 5x minus x, that's 4x plus 6. All right, g times f, or f times g, multiplication is commutative, still evaluated at x. That is the same as f of x times g of x. F of x is x minus 6, g of x is 5x. Distribute. That is 5x squared plus, oops, not plus, that's minus. Minus 30x. That's as far as you can go on this one. Now the last one, we have f times g, but this time evaluated at -2, so slightly different. So that is the same as f evaluated at -2 times g evaluated at -2. Now the function f, plug in -2 instead of x, -2 minus 6. That's f evaluated at -2. Function g, we have 5 times -2. So that means -2 minus 6, that's -8, times 5 times -2, that's -10. Multiply them together, that is a positive 80. Number 12, still functions. Suppose that R and S are defined as followers. R at x is 2x squared minus 10, and S at x is 5 minus x. We're finding the composition of functions here, so S composed of R evaluated at -3, that is the same as S composed of R evaluated at -3. We work inside out, so R at -3 first. R is 2 times -3 squared minus 10. That is 2 times 9 minus 10, so that's 18 minus 10. That's just 8. That's not the final answer. We now have to switch to the outside function, which is s, and evaluate that at the number that we just found, at 8. So that would be 5 minus 8, which is -3. That is the answer to this question. Now part B, R composed of S at x. So this time we're not plugging in any numbers. We're taking the inside function, the function s, and we're plugging it back into the x value of the function on the outside of the r function. So this is 2 times 5 minus x. You have to square it, and then minus 10. Now, order of operations tells us that we need to square first. So this is 2. Squaring the inside, that's 25 minus 10x plus x squared. I am skipping a step of where I represent 5 minus x squared as 5 minus x times 5 minus x. Then you FOIL it and do like terms. Now I can go ahead and open up the parentheses, so distribute the 2. So this is 50 minus 20x plus 2x squared minus 10. And now the last thing we have to do is we have to add like terms. So 2x squared minus 20x, and then 50 minus 10 plus 40. Number 15, another word problem. A small publishing company is releasing a new book. The production costs will include a one-time fixed cost for editing and additional costs for each book to be printed. The total production cost is given by the following function. N is the number of books. The total revenue is given by a different function, R of N. And then profit is the profit to be made in dollars. Write the equation relating P to N. The formula for the profit equation is not given here, but you do need to either remember or reason out that profit is revenue minus cost. That is intuitive, so the formula is not always given. Just need to remember it or reason it out. So for us, profit would equal revenue was 32.80 N minus cost has multiple terms, so they have to be in parentheses. 18.95 N plus 750. Now we have to distribute that negative sign in front of the parentheses. So this is 32.80 N minus 18.95 N minus 750. And then the last thing you have to do is put the like terms together. P equals 12.85 N minus 750. That is your profit equation. 13, more graphing. We need to state the slope and the point on the line and then graph that line. The first equation in the slope-intercept form, so that's y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope. So the slope is just 2 over 5. And b would be your y-intercept. So the point that would be on the line, the y-intercepts always have 0 for the x-coordinate, and then -4 because that's the value for b. In order to graph it, you start by plotting the y-intercept first, so that's right here. And then slope is rise over run, 2 up, 1, 2, and 5 to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Connect the dots. Now for the second line, that is a point slope equation. This is y minus y1 equals m x minus x1. Now the x1, y1 would be the point on the line. Now for us, since it's not written exactly like the formula, let me rewrite it. Y minus 2 equals -3, x minus a minus 4. Now it's written exactly like the formula, so x1 is -4, and y1 is +2. So that's the point on the line, and the slope is just -3. It's the number in front of the parenthesis. So to graph it, you start by plotting the point. The point has the coordinates of -4 on the x and 2 on the y. And then the slope is -3. That means 3 down, 1, 2, 3, and 1 to the right. You can also do 3 up, 1, 2, 3, but 1 to the left. One of the directions has to be negative. As straight as you can. Sometimes it does not work out the first time. Nope. Number 14, this is just the ability to read the graph and knowing how the function notation works. We need to find f at 2. So remember, this is the x value, x equals 2. So go to x equals 2, go down until you hit the graph, see what the y coordinate is, -2. F at 0, so again, that's an x value. Go to x equals 0, and it happens to be on the y-axis, so the y coordinate is 2. Now find all the values of x for which f of x is 1. So on this one, this is the y value, and this is the y value. So on part A, go to y equals 1. That's right here. Go up until you hit the graph. Y equals 1. We'll go to the right until we hit the graph. We see that x equals 1. It says all values. X equals 1. That's the first one. If you go to the left, from y equals 1, if you go to the left and hit the graph again, you can see that x equals -1. So either x equals 1 or x equals -1. It says all values, so we need to put all of them down. Sometimes it just says find one value of x, so then just one or the other would be okay. Let's try f of x equals 2. So y equals 2. That's this point right here, and there's only one x value that gives you y equals 2, and that's x equals 0. Intervals of increasing and decreasing. Intervals of increase is when the function climbs uphill. So for us, it's this whole interval right here. Now, I know the function does not have the arrow showing, but it is assumed that there's two arrows at the end of that function and they keep going. We always do the intervals left to right. This is x values only and only parentheses. The leftmost x would be -infinity. It stops increasing when x is 0. Now on the other side, decreasing function, it's like sliding downhill. So all this, and it starts at 0 and goes all the way to the right to positive infinity. Number 16, same thing, but with a table, not a graph. Find f at 0. Well, this is an x value. X equals 0, y equals what? So find x equals 0 in the table and grab the corresponding y value. That's 10. Find x such that f of x is 2. So this is the y value, and you need to find x. So go to y equals 2 in the table and grab the corresponding x value. Okay. 17 just tests the ability to read the graph. The graph shows S as a function of W. S represents the weekly sales of a best-selling book in thousands of dollars, W weeks after it's been released. In the 6th week, what was the amount of sales? So 6th week is right here. So we have to go up until we hit the graph and see what that is on the y-axis, and that looks like it's 9. So you cannot just put down 9 because S represents the weekly sales in thousands of dollars. So don't just put down 9, either write 9,000, or it's a little bit easier if you do a dollar sign, just 3 zeros after 9. So 9,000. In which weeks did the sales equal 4,000? Well, this time we are looking at the y-axis first. So 4 is right here. 4,000 would be right here. So go to the right until you hit the graph. Here's the first one. And that happens when W is 4. So in weeks 4, and we're not done, because if we keep going to the right, we're going to hit the graph one more time. And it looks like that happens in week 12. So, and week 12. Number 18, suppose that a household's monthly water bill is a linear function of the amount of water the household uses in hundreds of cubic feet. When graphed, the function gives a line with a slope of 1.65. If the monthly costs for 13 hundredths of cubic feet is $47.65, what is the monthly cost of 900 of cubic feet? So the graph is given to you. We're going to use the slope formula. It's the easiest one to use on these questions. So I'm going to remind you of the slope formula. m equals y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. Here's the points that we have. The first point is labeled on the actual graph. So 13 for the x-axis and 47.65 for the y-axis. The second point is given in the question. So what is the monthly cost for 9 HCF? 9 would be your x value and y2 would be your y value. My slope is also given in the actual word problem, and it is 1.5. So I'm going to go ahead and write it all with all of the numbers provided. So we have m is 1.65 equals y2, I don't know. Y1 is 47.65 divided by x2 is 9, x1 is 13. So that's 1.65 equals y2 minus 47.65 divided by -4. Multiply both sides by -4. That's -6.6 equals y2 minus 47.65. So that means y2 is -6.6 plus 47.65. It's measured in dollars, $41.05. 19, we're solving equations for x, but notice there's multiple letters in these equations, so you're not going to get a number as your answer, you're actually going to get an expression. So on this first one, you're going to divide by k first, so that's z divided by k equals 6 plus x. Then you're going to subtract 6 from both sides. Z divided by k minus 6 equals x. This is a perfectly good result. Now, if you took a slightly different approach and you distributed the k first, your answer is going to look slightly different. It's the same answer, so I don't want to confuse you too much, but if you distributed, instead of dividing by k in the first step, if you distributed the k, your answer is going to look like this: z minus 6k divided by k equals x. It is the exact same answer. Now, part B. We have t equals 5 and then cube root of x. We have to isolate the cube root, so we got to divide by 5 first. So this is t divided by 5 equals cube root of x. Now, to get rid of the cube root, I have to cube both sides. So that would be t cubed divided by 5 cubed equals x. And then the last thing to do is just cube the 5. So that's 125 equals x. Number 20. Greg is cooking a roast. The table below shows the temperature R of the roast in degrees and the times in minutes after he removed it from the oven. So we need to find the average rate of change from 10 minutes to 50 minutes. So the average rate of change is the same as the slope. So what we're doing here is finding the slope, y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. We don't have y's and x's. We have r2 minus r1 for the vertical axis, and we have t2 minus t1 for the horizontal axis. So from 10 to 50, this is t1, this is t2, this is r1, and this is r2. So this would be m equals 119.6 minus 205.6 divided by 50 minus 10. So that's negative 86 divided by 40, which is negative 2.15. It did say to round to the nearest tenth, so negative 2.2. Usually we want word problems to have units. This is degrees per minute. So it's cooling at a rate of negative 2.2 degrees per minute. 21, we're solving for the variable. So we have 5 equals 6 divided by w minus 7. This is a rational equation, so we have to multiply both sides by the denominator. So this is 5 times w minus 7 equals 6. Distribute the 5. 5w minus 35 equals 6. Add 35 to both sides. 5w equals 41. And divide by the number in front of the w, leaving you with w equals 41 over 5. Part B, we're going to isolate the square root. That means add 2 to both sides. 1 plus 2, that's 3, equals the square root of 4y minus 23. Okay, now that the square root is isolated, we have to square both sides. So that's 9 equals 4y minus 23. The square root and the square essentially cancel each other out. Add 23 to both sides. 9 plus 23, that's 32, equals 4y. And then divide by the number in front of the y, 32 over 4, which is 8. Part C. Once again, isolate the squared term this time, so add 3 to both sides. So this is y minus 7 squared equals 3. And this time, to get rid of the square, we have to take the square root of both sides. So that's y minus 7 equals. Now, 3 is not a perfect square, so we're going to leave it as a square root of 3, but we have to have plus or minus in front of it. Plus or minus square root of 3. To get just y, add 7 to both sides. 7 plus or minus the square root of 3. This is a perfectly good answer as long as it says plus or minus. So technically 2 answers, they're conjugates of each other. Let's go ahead and do part D, the last one on this one. Isolate the radical, so we have to subtract 12 from both sides. So this is cube root of 2x minus 5 equals negative 6. Now to get rid of the cube root, we have to cube both sides. Cube root and cube cancel each other out. This is just 2x minus 5 equals negative 6 times negative 6 times negative 6. Well, that would be a negative 216. Now we have to add 5 to both sides. So this is 2x equals negative 211, and then divide by 2. So x equals negative 211 divided by 2. If you could reduce it, you would do so, but you cannot, so leave it alone. Number 22, we have a kite that's flying in the air and it has a 12-foot line attached to it. The line is pulled taut and casts a 10-foot shadow. Find the height of the kite. This is a Pythagorean theorem, so we have learned a long time ago that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. If it helps, you need to label them on the actual picture. C is always the hypotenuse. B, you can always put B as the base, so the bottom that the triangle is sitting on, which means that the other one is A. So then plug in the values. A squared plus 10 squared equals 12 squared. A squared plus 100 equals 144. So a squared equals 144 minus 100. That would be 44. So a is the square root of 44. No plus or minus here. This is a word problem. We cannot have a negative height, so positive values only here, and you're just going to put it into a calculator. We're rounding to the nearest tenth, so this is 6.6 feet. 23. It's meant to be a very easy question. If a person's eye level is h meters above the sea level and he can see d kilometers to the horizon, then d equals 3.57 and then the square root of h. Suppose that the eye level, so h, is 6.76 meters above the sea level. How far can you see on the horizon? So d is unknown. All we have to do here is plug stuff in and put it into a calculator. 3.57 times the square root of 6.76. We're rounding to the nearest tenth still. So this is 9.282, 9.3 kilometers. 24. The compound interest formula for the annual amount is given. Cyril plans to invest $5,000 in a money market account that pays interest compounded annually. Write the formula for the amount A in the account after 2 years as a function of interest rate R. So what we know here is that P is 5,000 and T is 2. To write the equation, you just replace those values with numbers in the formula. So that's A equals 5,000, 1 plus R to the second power. That's all you do in part A. In part B, we have A equals 78.50, so we want the account to have $7,850 in 2 years. We need to find the interest rate that's needed to accomplish that. So plug in 7,850 for A equals 5,001 plus R to the second power. Now we have to solve this equation for R. We have to isolate the squared parenthesis first. That means we have to divide by 5,000. So 78.50 divided by 5,000. If you attempted to pick up a calculator and put this into a calculator, you need to resist that urge. It's best that we leave these numbers whole as fractions so that we avoid calculator round off errors in the end. So just kind of leave it as a fraction for now. So in order to get rid of the square on my parenthesis, I have to take the square root of both sides. So that's what you're going to do here. Okay. So that's square root of 7,850 divided by 5,000 equals 1 plus R. Now, in order to express R, you just have to subtract 1 from that big square root expression. Now you can pick up a calculator, plug it in. This is 0.253. Now, however, the interest rate is always expressed as a percent. So we cannot leave it as 0.253. We have to multiply it by 100 to get to a percent. So that would be 25.3%, which is not a very reasonable rate of return. And then 25, we have an aquarium that needs to be drained. The aquarium is shaped like a rectangular prism with a length of 12, width of 15, and height of 8 inches. Suppose that the water is pumped out at a rate of 75 cubic inches per minute. If the aquarium starts full, how many minutes does it take to empty? So first we need to calculate the volume, and that's just length times width times height. So V equals 12 times 15 times 8, 1,440 cubic inches. This is an intermediate result. We don't box it in. Then we need to find time to empty the aquarium. And that is just volume divided by the rate at which the aquarium is emptying. So that would be 1,440 divided by 75. And that is 19.2 minutes.